Let's talk about Captain Marvel spoilers. This is the spoiler review for the film. I'm assuming most of you or many of you have already seen the movie or you don't really care about spoilers. I have a non-spoiler review I put out Thursday night, so check that out if you don't want to be spoiled and you haven't seen the film yet. But on this video, we're going to talk about spoilers. Now, a lot of times what I tell people when it comes to movies is, really every movie you see, you should try to avoid spoilers. But when it comes to Captain Marvel, because it takes place back in the 90s, it has no real effect on Endgame. And if you're watching the MCU in order and you've already seen the other films, it's true. Captain Marvel is not one of those, oh my goodness, I don't want to be spoiled movies. There's not too much that really has a huge impact except for just seeing her powers and seeing how she became who she was. It's more of a personal story with Captain Marvel, not so much one in the grand scheme of the MCU. But unfortunately, when it tries to be, there are problems with the movie. In my review, I said that I liked the movie, but I didn't think it was a great movie. I said it was a mid-tier MCU film, and I do agree with that. And one of the reasons as to why I feel that way is because, in the non-spoiler review, I said that the biggest problem with the movie, at least I think I said this, was Brie Larson. She's just not, she doesn't have any charisma. And she's next to Sam Jackson, who has a lot of charisma, and it's pretty obvious. They do have good chemistry, but she's just not that charismatic. And, a lot of people have been kind of rebelling against Captain Marvel or against Brie Larson for her comments she made. And I have bigger concerns here. It's not her comments that she made, because actors say dumb stuff all the time. An actor saying something dumb in an interview is not going to make me stop watching your movie. I know for some people it does. It doesn't for me. Actors have done really dumb things, and I can still go back and watch their movies because, remember, it's not just Brie Larson. Sam Jackson, Jude Law, there's other actors, and there's a whole crew of people who worked really hard on this movie. Did she screw it up for them? Well, maybe in some people's eyes. Actors need to be quiet, I think, a little bit more than talking so much. But also, there's so many people that worked hard on this film that not seeing it because you want to spite her, it made millions anyways. So I don't think it should be a factor in whether or not you go see the movie. But the problem that I have is, the rumor is that she's going to be the leader of the Avengers in Phase 4. That after, supposedly Captain America either dies or retires, depending on what happens in Endgame, probably dies at this rate. I can see, they were saying, I think Kevin Feige said that Captain Marvel is going to be the leader of the Avengers, and she doesn't have the charisma. Like Brie Larson does not have the charisma of a Gal Gadot, or even if you want to compare it to other women, Scarlett Johansson is way more charismatic than Brie Larson. And I'm not saying Brie Larson as a whole is not charismatic, but in this movie, she's not super likable, right? Before the movie came out, everybody was like, the pre-reviews were like, oh, I love the cat. And I see the movie and the cat's like, all right, it's a Men in Black joke, essentially. It's basically a Men in Black joke, let's be real about it. Same kind of idea there. It was kind of okay, but one of the problems I did have with the film is that it somewhat does open up a batch of plot holes when it comes to the Tesseract. Because if I remember correctly, Howard Stern gave the Tesseract to S.H.I.E.L.D., but it could be that, Mar-Vell, who wound up being Annette Bening, I think, some people were pissed off about that, because I think a lot of people thought that Jude Law was going to be Mar-Vell, and I did too, actually, but they changed it. I didn't mind it so much because I like Annette Bening. I'm sure that, I kind of get it. Like, I do get, like, some people saying that that's, they made Mar-Vell into a woman. That's the SJWs. I don't know about that. I thought she was fine, but I don't think her role was big enough to really ruin the film. Same thing with what they did with Doctor Strange, where they took a male character and made her female. I don't think that's a huge deal for non-main characters. And even though Mar-Vell was a big deal in the comics, in the MCU, it's Brie Larson, it's Carol Danvers. In the MCU, it's Carol Danvers. So that didn't bother me that much. It truly, truly didn't. Plus, I personally have no real strong connection with Mar-Vell from the comics. The real Captain Marvel is coming out in a few weeks. Shazam! Can't wait for that. But to me, the only thing I can think of is that Howard Stark gave it to her at some point, or she stole it from S.H.I.E.L.D., then they got it back in this movie. That was a little weird. But that could be easily explained. That's not a huge issue. The issue is, like I said in my non-spoiler review, that the movie falls flat. Like, it's sort of like Iron Man 2. And, well, I don't know if I think I like this movie more than Iron Man 3, even though Iron Man 3 has a way more likable set of good guys in this movie. with obviously, Robert Downey being tremendously charismatic, way more than Brie Larson. I think that helps that movie out. But this movie, I think, was an overall better movie, but they both have a similar problem where the first act, the first third of the movie, the first half really is much better than the second half. I think the movie falls flat. I think the finale was just, it felt rushed. It felt like it was very by the numbers, very like, oh, well, that was kind of cool. And you see how strong she is. And the movie was pretty much just a showcase of her power. I mean, that's pretty much what this climax was. It wasn't really like a climactic battle. And they could have done it in other ways by maybe actually having her fight Ronan. See, that pissed me off. They teased her fighting Ronan the Accuser because he shows up, and I'm like, okay, we're going to have Ronan fight Carol. We're going to have Carol beat his ass. He's going to run away. But no, we did not get that fight. I didn't like that. And that's the thing, is just that was a disappointment. We see her kind of, destroy those missiles or whatever they were, those bombs. That was impressive, but at the same time, we've seen Thor and other characters do that too. But it was cool seeing her do it and going into space. It all looked great. More of that cosmic Marvel stuff. It's just, I didn't think it was a great sort of final battle. There were no really great fight scenes in this movie at all. Like, there were none. There's a couple scenes where she's kicking some ass, but I don't think there were that many great fight scenes at all. Like, maybe none. Also, the scene where they play Just a Girl, like, people were telling me in the comments of the non-spoiler, like, oh no, this is a feminist movie. No, it is a feminist movie, but it's not like, feminism and SJW are two different things. Let's get that out of the way. At least the connotation of what SJW is, not what it actually is. And what I'm trying to tell you is that the movie didn't do that whole women are great, men are dumb thing, but it did certainly give you girl power. I mean, it definitely did do that, but that never bothered me. Movies that focus on strong female characters don't really bug me at all. I think if they bug you, you're kind of insecure, just being real with you. What does bug is when they try to make men look stupid. That's where I'm like, okay, every woman is not a genius and every man's not an idiot. Like, I keep saying Ghostbusters 2016. That's the one that really was, like, infuriating to me. Especially when I watched the extended cut. God, that's a bad movie. But there were some good parts of the movie. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But that extended cut made it worse for Ghostbusters. That actually made the movie... The extended cut made the movie worse. Usually that makes the movies better. Like Batman v Superman... The extended cut was better for that. For this movie, for Ghostbusters, it made it worse. But anyways, the scene where they play Just a Girl, yeah, I thought it was just cheesy. I didn't think it was, oh my God, my manhood's being insulted. No, I just thought it was really dumb and just cheesy and ugh. It was just, it was like sort of like spoon feeding to the audience, oh, she's a girl and she's strong. Yeah, she's Miss Marvel, bro. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Also, the fan service at the end, I liked it. I thought it was a little bit wacky, Avenger, and then he's going to erase the keyboard and put Avengers Initiative. And the whole joke with the eye, I think, kind of got played out. Those are some of the bad things, The good things, though, is that some people were saying they thought the movie was boring. I saw some other reviewers say that it was boring, and I don't think it was totally boring. It really reminded me of a Phase 1 movie. I think Chris Stuckman in his review said that it felt more like a Phase 1 film where it was kind of before Marvel really understood what they were doing. If you really look at the old Phase 1 MCU movies, they were good, especially Iron Man and Avengers 1. They were good, but they weren't great to me, except Iron Man 1 and Avengers. The other ones were okay, like Captain America, the first Thor, they're fine. But then in Phase 2, you kind of got off to a rocky start with Iron Man 3 and Thor 2, Dark World, which was, I don't like either one of those movies. Then with Guardians of the Galaxy is when I felt they really started to change how the movies were and do more humorous stuff. And this movie kind of felt like something from that era, where it was, they're not all going to be knockouts. And this one was not a knockout. And without question, it's not that great of a film. However, the whole thing, with like it being review bombed and whatnot, and people hating it. If you don't like the movie because it's boring, like, I think that's fair. If you don't like the movie because of what Brie Larson said, I think that's kind of dumb because, like I said, it's just one actress giving her dumb opinion. Like, don't ever take stock into that. It's really about what the director and the producers can put together for a film, right? And the actors. And unfortunately for Brie Larson, she's not that interesting. Hopefully she'll improve, because I don't think they're going to recast her. I think she's going to stay as Captain Marvel. So hopefully for the Captain Marvel sequel or for the future Avengers films, she does get charisma. Also, the mid-credit scene where you see her kind of pop down and, talk to, Hulk and Cap. And I love that scene. And it was nothing special, but it was good seeing those actors again. And I can't wait. I think that scene might actually be directly from Endgame. That's an actual scene from Endgame. So, things that I did like, Ben Mendelsohn I thought was hilarious. He's always a dick heel, and this movie gets to be a heel and a face. That's another thing, too, that I did like about the movies. I love the double turn in the middle of the film. They entertain, in the middle of the movie, the audience that the Skrulls are bad and the Kree are good. Even though you know that Ronan the Accuser is a prick, if you only watch the MCU, you know that. You don't have to read the comics to know that. That the entire Kree race isn't necessarily, they're not all bad, just the government is very corrupt and domineering, and that's essentially what we find out halfway through the movie. There's a double turn. There's an actual double turn where the good guys become the Skrulls, even though they were always the good guys. From Carol Danvers' perspective, they weren't, because she was brainwashed by the Kree. Then the Kree become the villains, and I did like that a lot. I actually really liked that. I thought that was really cool. Really, Sam Jackson carried the movie. I mean, there's just a lot of really funny things when he found out that when Coulson was there. I mean, Coulson got the biggest pop of the whole movie theater. When they showed Agent Coulson there as a young man, the movie theater exploded. That is an over character. And I hope he appears in Avengers Endgame. I don't know if he will, but I hope he does. The movie really did feel like Star Trek. I mean, a lot of it, the Skrulls were totally right out of Star Trek. The technology when she's like hung upside down, like being investigated by the Skrulls or whatever, I thought that was total like Star Trek. It had that unique look, and it's good to see the Cosmic Marvel stuff. And I know that Kevin Feige said that with Phase 4 we're going to see a lot more of that, so I do wonder what characters they're going to give movies to, because we don't know anything about Phase 4 right now. It's very much in the dark because we're waiting for Endgame to really come out, but we've still got obviously the X-Men are going to be in Marvel's back pocket if once that deal gets finalized, the Disney Fox deal. That could be a big deal. And I'll tell you what, I feel like for a Captain Marvel sequel or for an X-Men movie, they have to have Rogue take her powers. They have to do it. I don't see how they can avoid that. It's such a major part of Rogue's character historically. It's probably the most important moment, I would say, in Rogue's character history. Probably the most interesting one, that she got her powers from Captain Marvel. And I think if they do that, like they did, I think it was Avengers Annual. It's been a while. If they do that, then I do think that it would be a great launch pad for the X-Men movie. If they do that in Captain Marvel 2, or maybe she can go into a coma in Captain Marvel 2. Then in Captain Marvel 3, she comes out of it. It's kind of like what they did with the X-Men animated series. They could do that. I mean, there's lots of things they can do, and it explains how Rogue gets her powers. So, I think that could work. I think that is the best thing to do. I don't see how they don't do that, honestly. It's like too important. It's too important to Rogue's character if they want to make her a big deal, and they certainly should. No, overall, like I said, I liked the movie. I didn't hate the movie at all. Some people hate it. I liked it, but it wasn't top tier. It was definitely a step down, I would say, from Ant-Man and Wasp, which I was surprised as how many people didn't like that movie. I loved it. It was a step down from Ant-Man and Wasp, and definitely a step down from Endgame. And I would put it even below Homecoming. I would say it's a step down from that. Thor Ragnarok was awesome, amazing. We'll see where they go with Endgame. Hopefully, in Endgame, Brie Larson would have gotten her acting chops finalized and she can play the character right. We'll see how the Russos direct her. Maybe that's what it has to do with. But anyways, that's it for the Captain Marvel spoiler talk. And those are my thoughts on the movie. Let's see where they go from here. Thanks for watching.